Okay.
Okay.
But he said it's just the 2x2 is not very big, but he said people drive by before you really actually can even see a sign when they're that small. And I said I would bring it, we could talk about it. And what'd she say?
2x2 is not very big.
No,
It was looping you back in. It's done now.
okay.
That was just copying you. You're good.
2 square feet. Yeah, it's not very big. Yeah,
I guess he qualifies, I mean, there's no conflicts of having that type of business in a residential area, I guess.
yeah, and I think he already has like his business license and everything. He just said, well, because he even said, sometimes you'll see people and they'll have a business and it might be hanging over something. It might be like 8 feet by 2 feet or something. I don't know. But if you think this is something we might be in, or, I mean, this isn't anything, of course, we can vote on, but if you think it's something that we might be, we could put it maybe on the agenda for some other time or have Brandon look at it and see. That's
Sure.
not very big.
No, that's. Yeah, that's roadside, sign.
Yeah, if you're a home business, so so the ordinance I was actually looking at is 10-458. And it says home signs. And it says that, accessory nameplate and home occupation signs are permitted. And you don't have to have a permit to have them. You can have one accessory nameplate, but again, it's 2 square feet.
So, I was kind of thinking something else. So where can you display that? It can't be on the park strip, right?
Usually it's just in their front yard. It says home occupation signs must be attached flatly to the building, not to exceed the height of the eaves line.
That's good.
But I think we do sometimes out here I've seen business signs that were in front of their houses that almost look, that's not a very big sign, that I've just seen them right in front of their yards.
Hey, you're talking about like money, don't you?
No, this is a legitimate business that wants to see about having
Yeah, I guess as long as it doesn't keep the view of traffic. I mean, our like campaign signs are better than that.
They are. Yeah. Is there a certain size? Like if I mean, I don't know that I don't know what we necessarily do with this, if we need to have brownie rights, or if we can just come up with something like you say, if you thought this was something worth talking about, we could put it on another agenda. Actually have it be as a.
Yeah. Has he mentioned anything about neighbors or how they feel about having a bigger sign, or anything like that?
No, and I don't know that he necessarily has a sign out there yet, because he was wanting to get one made, but it's not very big. 2 square feet,
Right. I just meant, has he reached out to anybody about getting a larger sign, or how they would feel about larger signs in the neighborhood? Or
yeah. Well, okay, I'll tell him then that we feel like this is something that we could discuss and maybe make some kind of a motion then at another meeting. And maybe in the meantime, if you'd be thinking about what size you think might be, maybe we can kind of look around, maybe even what we see or in other cities, what kind of a sign there might be. Okay,
Sure.
so I can tell him that, because I told him I would bring that up. Okay. Another thing, so furnaces, we talked last time about furnaces. And so, as like Cami mentioned, we have money in the budget because I kind of did a little synopsis of the different furnaces that there was. So I ended up talking to Christopher Phillips. All of them came in.
What's the name of his?
He is the Absolute.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I kind of tried to go through and compare as far as, and I called and asked questions because I'm certainly not a furnace expert, but as far as, the efficiency on them, I've learned quite a bit now about air conditioning units as far as the ton. My recommendation would be that we go with Dave Taylor. His is the least his was the lowest bid. And I feel like for everything there was, it was pretty comparable. All the furnaces were pretty comparable. I kind of asked some questions about the difference in the tons of the air conditioning units. If having a bigger one is better. And it was explained to me that not always necessarily, because you have a bigger unit and it blows out air faster, but then it shuts off faster because it's blowing it out. If you have one that's smaller, it's a little more efficient. And then it maybe is on a little bit longer, but it was explained to me that it kind of cools down the walls, the floors, the ceiling, so the air stays more cooler. So, but whatever you want to do with this, I do have the bids. If anybody wants to look through the bids, I'm happy to make you copies of the bids. Yeah, that's just kind of a summary. So I just went through this. No, the actual bids look like this, like they came in like an actual bid. And I just kind of went through and just summarized who they were, who my contact person, all 4 of them are for Hooper. I think all 4 of them would do a great job. I don't have any problems with any of them. So I just kind of went through price point. And like I say, the Dave's was the lowest, and he has done some work already here at the city for us. He's came and repaired our furnace. One thing we thought about trying to get it done this time of year is because we're not really needing air conditioning yet, and we're really not needing the furnace. So it would be, and he said he thought he could come in and do it in a couple, like a weekend. But again, it's up to whatever you want to do.
So on that 100,000 for the remodel,
Mhm.
we spent 53, is that
We've
right?
spent 53. It was like 53 and 600. Yeah,
So say 50. So we
Yeah.
roughly have.
so 54. No, so we have 40. We have 46. Yeah, so we have enough that can cover. And again, that was a decision, we either replace the furnaces or we only fix the one. But then I think I mentioned to you, they said they all share the same cold air return. They pulled off some of the fronts and some of the others are rusted. And they put them all in the building. And that was 2000. Our outside units are a little bit newer than that. But like they're a 2013, so they're only 12 years old, which isn't, but still sometimes when you're changing out one, they feel like it's really more efficient because now and there's some new Freon that they're coming out with, but some feel like it's better to get the furnaces now with that old, but then a few years down the road, they change, will that still be available? So.
This guy, he said he was gonna use existing.
Well, they kind of all gave, we could save possibly 1,000 if we could use existing. Some say they have rebates on them, like the one said it could be 600 less if we used an existing evaporator coil, but they really don't know until they get into them. Like I said, I think all of them are really good. I wouldn't have an objection with any of them because all 4 of them are good people.
So do you want a commitment from us now or just,
Well,
oh, go ahead, Bill.
well, I didn't know, this has to be something.
No,
Well,
she don't want a commitment. Well, go ahead.
I didn't know if that would be on the agenda.
so we already have budget money, so it's within the budget. And so if you go through our, procurement process, if it's ever anything, we just have to have 3 bids, which we had our 4 bids. So I don't know that we necessarily have to have I think it could be a consensus because it is budget money that's, we're not having them do a modification of our budget or anything. So whatever you would feel more comfortable with. But like I said, that would be my recommendation. And that was based on price and I didn't really see an advantage. One of them gave us one that if we ever do solar panels, we could have some heat pump. And he asked me, and I said, I really don't see us ever doing solar panels. So we maybe would, because then it was like a $51,000 furnace, but you could get $10,000 in rebates if you do the solar panels. Well, yeah, but we'd have to spend a lot more than that to get the solar panels to begin with. So
I'm kind of just kind of leaning in favor of it, just, sales things.
I don't think that's the money.
But the money.
Yeah.
Sorry, might as well.
You must have, but those three of us, I guess, if Debbie,
Yeah,
that would be census. of the majority.
Yeah. I mean, we only really have to have three to have a quorum and they contact me quite often and say, hey, have you decided yet? They want to get going on this. And so
So now, how do we pick? You recommended Dave.
he was the lowest price. And based on from what that's who that would be my recommendation, but whatever you feel is whatever you decide.
I mean, I know who they are. Well, actually, I don't know two of them. But I just know them, who they are. I don't know personally, so. I can. What do you think?
Just compare what the work is going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I asked about warranties. Most furnaces will have a warranty on them. They will guarantee their labor. I don't know. I didn't want to, because I started thinking, okay, our last furnaces lasted us 22 years. But I don't know that you can really say that anymore about anything, because we had a chest freezer that lasted us 45 years and they don't make things as good as they used to. So I didn't feel like I could say to them, well, will this last us 20 more years? We don't know that. So.
What do you think, Morgan? I know, I just that's what you're gonna say.
It's all the same stuff, and of course you'd have, what's the lowest bid, it's all the same.
Right, so
Yeah.
you saying it was office?
Yeah. Well, that's why we thought we.
Personalities or?
Yeah. Right there.
We really do need to get going on, I feel like going on something. I mean, I would think we're fine doing it. Like I say, we have the budget money. We talked about it our last budget meeting about, and I felt like the consensus I thought was more so let's replace all of them than just fix the one. Especially since it's the third time within the last 6 months we fixed it. And then I think we're kind of just waiting for something else to go out. But
And when you talk to them about the warranties too, this will be considered a commercial building, so that'll be a lot different. than residential. So the warranties may not even apply. So that'd be a good question to ask them too.
yeah.
So you say you don't get one on commercial?
Sometimes you do, but it's a lot. Yeah. So that's not bad, definitely, because this will be considered.
Commercial.
Yeah, one of them did mention that with commercial, sometimes they'll throw it out there, but they really don't exist. So if they're telling you, we guarantee this, it might be more of a sales pitch.
Have we got a lot of background information on this gentleman and his company?
On Dave Taylor, Debbie?
Yeah,
We just have to have, if we go with the lowest bid. Well, so you're saying the lowest is what you do.
That's what I said. I would go with the lowest bid.
So,
Yeah, that's what, I think, and not that we have to, but usually they do recommend we do lowest bid unless if there's certain things that one was more superior than the other. Yes, that's what I think too. But when I look through, and when they kind of told me about them as far as variable speed, I know more about furnaces than I used to, but still you kind of have to depend on what they're telling you because that's what.
So his 39.6, it actually get 1,200 off of that.
Mhm. Yeah, but I suspect all of them probably would have a rebate. That's what I was thinking. But even if you took the rebate off of all of them, his still was left. But I think maybe one of the reasons too is he does a lot of this work on the side. So sometimes you have to pay more for a company because you're paying for their brick and mortar building, for their, other employees, for their advertising, and so. Okay, that sounds good then with everybody. Okay, then let's do that. And Dylan, now you're here. We were just talking about the sign. I'd already brought that up before you came in, but, oh, okay. So anything else you'd like to add to that?
Particular, I think you covered most of it. I mean, it'd just be nice to have it bigger than 2B.
Yeah,
So how big do you want?
I don't know that I would go over 8 square feet for me, but I think that there are certain applications where 16 square feet would be nice. But I would still want it to feel like a residential area. It's still one of my concerns. I don't want it to feel commercial. It's still right. But if somebody's driving past, they should know that the business theoretically is there as well. So kind of finding that nice medium of where your neighbors could know that they can come to you for something, but not necessarily like.
So you
Flashing
want, you
neon
want customers
things.
that actually come into and purchase it at your home.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, for
You
one of
want
my
to be able to
businesses.
find it. Right.
well, so we just said we'd put it on the agenda and then we could come, I told them kind of come up with some recommendations of what they think and then,
The happy medium, in my opinion. I think that there are some businesses that will do 16. But it could depend on property size, it could depend on other stuff. I think there should probably be some setback rules to it. I wouldn't necessarily just willy-nilly allow anybody to do whatever they want, but
well, it could, because this also says they have to be attached flatly to the building. That I don't know
I don't know
that.
if I saw that, I saw that in Beaver County code.
So on this is 10.458 that said home signs, and the last just thing said they must be attached fully to the building, not to exceed the height of the eaves. But if you only had a 12-foot square sign attached to your house, I don't know that anybody would ever see it, would they?
I prefer it to be out, not necessarily the parking strip, but setback,
Yeah,
kind of out of the way. I think you would want to obscure the site when it's all the right for anybody.
yeah.
So I don't know that I'd have that attached to the house like I could. But it's all playing, I want to play within the rules, but
Well, as we know, some of ours came when we became a city from Weber County, and I don't know that we've ever adjusted this. We maybe have, maybe haven't. So sometime over time, things really do need to be adjusted. So, yeah.
Can I just add something real quick? So I had only heard bits and pieces while we were on our way over. One of the people had asked how our neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
So we're on 5100. We don't have a whole ton in the way of super close neighbors. There's currently building the lot next door to the north, but otherwise is to be built. Across the street is to be built. And then there's a couple of homes next to us. We have not talked to them about it. But it's not like we're in like the middle of our neighborhood. We are on Main Street.
Yeah.
So we have not approached any neighbors about it. We don't have anything specific set in mind of what we want to do. It's more we're wanting to find out, hey, are these before we put any time and effort into doing any kind of signage, we want to find out, how limited are these rules and is there, room for discussion to do something else.
Okay.
and there's a question on maybe not altering the full normal rules, but allowing conditional uses or whatever that way. And then neighbors would have to be notified or whatever. And so I
Just want to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
open up the books a little bit about it and see where people are at is kind of where I'm at.
Fair enough.
Okay. Okay. That sounds
So
good.
can I ask, what did we decide on the HVAC?
Oh, on
I
what?
couldn't quite hear.
Thanks, Dad.
Oh,
How do you feel about moving forward with that, Debbie? We have 46,000 in the budget.
Uh-huh.
Spent on the remodel. Did you hear Morgan's plea for it?
No, but I know we need it and stuff. So are we going to look at I don't know, I always like to look at the Better Business Bureau and thing if people, even if we know them, I like to look at their backgrounds and stuff before we go with anyone. Because sometimes I've run across people I thought I knew real well, but didn't in the end. And I think we'd be wise to do kind of a little background on anybody that we're looking at.
So Debbie, Dave Taylor is Bruce Taylor's son.
Right?
So I've known him since, well, he was a baby. So
Right.
I think he's a good, I think any of these people we could vouch for their character. I certainly
Oh,
would.
I do too. I just like to double check on everything. I've known some people that I would have given my life for, but you know, there were some things that I didn't know about them. So it's just sometimes I think we have to act as if we don't know people and look at where we're at with that situation and make sure that everything's where it should be. All the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. That's just my opinion as someone who's looking after large amounts of money.
Maybe we could do this then over the weekend, we could all kind of take a look at that, because you can get it
Yeah.
online, and I don't think we're making a decision tomorrow, we'll close
No.
tomorrow, so maybe by the first of the week.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough, Debbie? We can all just kind of reach out to the different bureaus
Oh, yeah.
on businesses. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay. Okay, another question that has came up that I just wanted to kind of run past you get, and then, well, and Taylor will be coming on here pretty quick because he was, so if you see Taylor, then just stop and we'll go on. So the low sewer station that is on 6,300, it's almost a 5,100 south. And excuse me, 4,600 south, 6,300 west, and it's our low sewer station. So for quite some time, probably since they built that building, the fence was wrong where the building is, and the person that lives in the house, it's the old low home, and it's to the house that is on the north side of the house has been using that property because we thought it was, he thought it was, and we thought it was. Well, it's not. So he would like to see about possibly then just leasing that property from us. You know, I brought this, these are all our Hooper leases that we have, and I know you wanted to talk about Hooper properties, so this would be one. Leasing that property, we not sell it to him. You know, certainly it's kind of like with the other ones we've leased, they can use it. But if the city ever needs it back, then we, you know, there's in the lease agreement, it tells them. But this came up because he would want to do an oversized structure, but then when he did the survey, realized no, it would actually, part of it would be on the city's property. But Jared said that's one of our main sewer stations, so we would probably not be very wise to sell off that, and probably not let him invest in an oversized structure. Maybe he could have the driveway going down that side, if it was a gravel driveway or something. But there would be something then that would want to enter in if you, because that's what we thought from talking here at staff. Probably leasing it would probably be, he's been using it now for, well, the sewer's been in 17 years, going on 18 years. So he's been using it all this time, just not knowing that it actually wasn't his, that it belonged to this. There's a grill, there was a horse that was there. It's just kind of part of his yard. You know, nothing was built on it. So.
Yeah, if he's gonna take care of it.
Well, you wouldn't,
Yeah.
we really don't know why the fence was put where it was, but it was. So, and we wouldn't have known either. You know, I think we all thought of the property. I mean, there really is that.
Oh, the fence, is it a permanent fence on?
Fence around the sewer building.
Far enough north? It doesn't go to the edge of the city property, I mean?
No, the fence doesn't go to the edge of our property. And you can drive by there. and look and see what you think. So it's right on it's on the southeast corner of 4600 south and 6300 south.
But
And
no, sewer, but the fence, you were talking the fence on.
it's on the north side of the sewer building. Mhm. But so you can look, but, and there's actually a stake that's out front, I think that was pink or something, wasn't it? And so if you drive by slow and look down, you'll see it, you know, it's pretty low to the ground, the stake. That's where the city-owned property actually is. So like we said, you know, we don't think,
Did he put the fence up?
oh, we did, like 17 years ago. Yeah. So we are, but like I say, it's kind of about all these other leases, you know, that we have all along the slough, all along the walking trail with some of our other city-owned property. We let them lease it, and then, but right in there, it says if the city needs it, we give them so much time, but they really are taking, I mean,
What was Jared's thought on it? What?
well, we don't want to sell it.
Well, no,
Yeah.
we wouldn't sell it.
Yeah, but he said, yeah, let him lease.
The way it is.
Yes,
With
but,
the fence where it is and everything.
yeah, but probably not let him build a building on it, because then it would be half, I mean, he wouldn't want to invest in an oversized structure that half of it was on city property.
And then just draft it.
Just a lease like we did. Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten back to him about it because he just came in, because I wanted to run it past you first. But if we could draft up a lease agreement like these other ones that just say, because if not, if we made him move, then now Hooper City will have this, I don't know how many, it was quite a few feet. I can't remember now, Malcolm. What is it, like,
15 or 20 feet at least.
yeah,
I'm concerned about a fence being in the wrong place. It's a permanent type fence. You think we ought to get it in the right place, or he might fight that, say, well, you know,
well, I think he's pretty aware that he's, you know, well, he wasn't aware till he did the survey, but now he's done the survey. He's aware that he does.
Well, I
He
think,
knows he doesn't.
I think, I don't know, this is just my thought, regardless of where the fence is, if we had a lease,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that would probably.
to maybe describe that this property goes
Yeah.
so many feet north of the fence.
That's why I think like all these leasing, because I think the people that are leasing like along the trails, they know they don't own that. They know they're just leasing it. But a lot of them have moved their fences back right against the trail, and it looks nice. Like people that are taking care of it, the city appreciates them doing that. So we don't really want, that was the reason this was before me, I think even started with Corey Dale, so probably even before you, but I think the whole reasoning of it is we can't take care of all that. So it's really better to let people lease it and take care of it than to have the city.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
How about you, Debbie?
Just having a hard time unmuting things. I think that sounds about right. As far as some of those properties, I don't know if we can, they're all a little different in their own way. And so I think maybe we'd need to look at them individually and how they're placed against other people's lands or whatever. I don't know if we can just throw a blanket idea and over all of the pieces. I think we might need to look at them individually. That's just
a lease agreement specific for this.
yeah, that's what I think. I think we could just have either Jared or Malcolm or somebody just write. I think it was Bryant before that would write these up. And before then, when I was going through these, looking at them, I don't know if it was Judy that drafted them or, you know, Corey, I don't know, because some of these have been here for a long time, these lease agreements. So, well, we can talk to him. Like I say, we haven't mentioned it to him. You know, he came in wanting, well, it was about getting a building built, wasn't it? And when we realized that that's been really.
So, you know, they have a time frame.
So, yeah, some of them have 50 years. You know, some of those that we did along have 50 years. Some of them don't have a time frame. That what the lease agreement just says is that the terms is when the city wants it, and then there's like certain things in there that says the city will give them so many days, or like particularly if it was farm drowned, that they would give them so many days waiting till crops were done. I was really surprised, and you think there's probably more lease agreements than even these, because Morgan found one today in a file somewhere else that we're thinking, okay, we probably have even more lease agreement. We're working on getting these things back. So yeah, so they're. Yeah. But this is our stack right here we have right now, have these lease agreements. So, okay, well then we can, he is on, Taylor's on, okay. Did you have something you want to, Bryce, before we talk to, bring Taylor on?
So, first, on the rental property, is there an update on that? How's that coming along?
Our house?
Yeah,
A few concerns. One is we already talked about, they do have animals, and they said that he said he never was told they couldn't. I'm not saying that he didn't, but he just said he has no email correspondence, has no recollection of ever talking about. In fact, he said he remembers talking about they could have animals because the carpet was so old it wouldn't hurt it.
That was then with Scott, but we could visit with Scott.
Yeah, yeah. And as far as a couple of other issues that we had, they kind of cleared those up. I think as far as like the cars, one thing we have talked about before Tomato Days, that it would be really good if we could get a fence put up, because they do have those dogs that we just don't want them getting out into when there's going to be horses. So we talked about maybe even seeing if they would let us next door, even Allen's home, put the fence all the way across and up the one side that kind of blocks off those backyards, that keeps that separate. We have had a little bit of difficulty, but we're hoping as of today that'll be cleared up. We have not received any payment yet for the rent,
And not since they lived there.
not since they've lived there.
So the renters have paid the property management, and the property management hasn't sent it to us. So I have like trail of, hey, we sent this, we worked out, we sent this, it's right out. We got in contact with them last week and said that they're switching online portals somehow, so once that's done today, they'll get the rest of it sent to us.
So they're paying $2,000 a month. They're keeping 200, so we should have been getting $1,800 a month since October, but we now have gotten 2,000. But
I
we,
think you want to do a test, the test send to a bank account. So let's make sure it's through.
yeah.
okay.
So, but, I went back through our minutes too, and I thought we'd talked about doing a 6-month lease just to kind of see. He said, no, that was never expressed to him either. So they signed a year lease. The hardest thing with all this, which we figured out, but well, next time we'll go, we hope better, because we never saw a copy. Never ever did they send us a copy of the lease agreement. And that, the first time I saw it, I brought it to city council, and that's when we saw that pet addendum. So we didn't know there was animals. So they've been animals for a while, because Morgan, how long did you try to get a copy?
Maybe we need a different management company then.
Maybe.
Well, when I told him about the 6-month contract, he said, well, I thought the 6-month contract was his contract. He said, I didn't know you'd ever said 6-month contract with the house. And I said, well, from us talking about it, it was 6 months with the house, no animals, and he said, well, that's not.
Yeah, it was. That would be, yeah, he's tricky to work with.
Well,
He is tricky.
he just doesn't respond very well.
It's not.
Yeah, I think he's a nice man, but Morgan and I, both of us have left lots of, and, oh, I'll call you back. Oh, we'll get together.
Do they
Oh,
have a freaking building, or is it just?
I don't know. I don't, all I have for him is just a cell phone.
I mean, if you could let us know as soon as they pay, just kind of see, because if not, then I'd be in favor of moving to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, okay. I love animals, so I'm not saying that. We have a dog in our home too, so I'm not against that. But you have 2 large dogs that are 200-pound dogs. No matter how careful you are, there's going to be wear and tear. And that house was very well taken care of because we know how immaculate she was. I don't know that I'm a little bit cautious about what that should be. I don't know.
Yeah. So one, they're probably stick on.
Well, they moved in October. They were moving in this, that was my first concern, is they were moving in the Saturday of Halloween haunt, and that is the second Saturday in October. So that was either October 10th or 11th. And but that was right off the bat, we had some problems because they turned the water on and the water was leaking and we didn't know about anyway. And then when I asked him, he said, oh no, they haven't moved in yet. Well, you already were because we saw like our guys down saw them moving in. So, but we know they should have paid at least from the middle of October. So you have, November, December, January, February, March. I mean, there's been 6 months. We should have at least gotten almost $12,000, and I'm sure they did like a first and last month rent. There should have been a cleaning deposit. I'm sure all of that should have come into play with that. So,
And I know we talked about like some projects coming up in years down the road, like, we're gonna have to come up with some matching funds. I'd recommend, or just throw it out there, that money that we're making off that house, just earmark it for those matching funds. And
That's a good idea.
which project did you, was it 5,100 or which parts? Maybe. Well, there's, cause you know how we got funds for 5,500. I guess there's another one coming up in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
yes,
Oh, right.
so that's on Lot 55, the
55.
newest. So we have in fact, we just barely had the kickoff meeting from the Sinclair to go down to the Davis County Board. And that was, I think he said this was Corey that applied. So, UDOT's a long ways out. But now that money is now available to us this fall. And so we had this kickoff meeting. The Sprint Regional Council was there, UDOT, our JB was there as far as doing plans. The next phase, then we've been awarded, but I think you're right. It's like 5 years probably down the road. So, but I think Taylor was going to talk to us about that too, because there's this other grant that he's going to tell about that could help us get some money as far as doing a park impact study. So, but Taylor had a brand new baby on Tuesday. So that's why he's not here with us in person. So Taylor, are you ready to talk to us?
Yeah, I'm here. I can talk to you guys.
Okay. I just already mentioned about this grant.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you want to explain to us now a little bit up front, and then certainly we have you on the agenda.
Okay. Is there any way I could share my screen with you guys?
Yeah.
I'll allow you.
All right. What I got, tell me if you can see what I got a table up there.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so this is something that's been talked about for a while, about first updating the IFFP for the parks and trails plan. And then kind of includes all the other plans and impact fees for our utilities that we own. Starting to think, this is a way for the city to kind of start making money to pay for these projects, and specifically projects that are impacted by the new development coming into Hooper. So with the parks, well, first of all, kind of just a general thumb, like if you said, I want to do a master plan from scratch and a IFFP, which is an impact facilities plan, and IFA, impact fee analysis. I mean, you kind of just assume like $100,000 is kind of the going rate. I mean, just there's a lot more specifics that go into it. But I have spent some time more specifically breaking down what the fees would be for each one of these utilities. And I would specifically, let's start with the parks plan, I guess. So for the parks plan and update to the IFFP, we already have a plan. It was created in 2003. So quite a while. And to update that and to kind of come up with a new impact fee, the cost that we came up with was $88,000. That's something, and I said this, like, this is something that we've wanted to do because that fee is way too low. Updating it, we can make a lot more money for the parks and trails in the city. And then as we were thinking about doing that, we heard about this grant opportunity. It's the Utah Outdoor Recreation Planning Grant. It's a grant that would pay 80% of the cost with a 20% local match. And it's just ideal for updating or coming up with a new parks and trails master plan. They encourage outdoor activity, trails, parks, access to in Hooper, it would be that wildlife management area. They said that was a really good part to include in this plan. So it sounded like something like this was something we wanted to accomplish in the first place, was updating that plan and getting updated impact fees. This now just seems like a great opportunity to get 80% of it paid for. And so that application is due next week. I think it's on Tuesday or Thursday. It's a really simple application, and it's already something we're almost ready to submit it. It's not a lot. It just comes up with what that cost is and what you're planning on doing with it. And so if you guys that's something that you're wanting to do, that'd be ready to submit for next week. The only thing that we need is just a letter of support from the city. Letter saying that that you're supporting this project is the way it would go. So I don't know, is there any questions about that parks plan?
So that's the IFFP. What does that actually stand for?
That's the impact fee facilities plan.
Okay.
So that's the plan that you come up with. And there's the IFA, which is the impact fee analysis. That's also included in that $88,000.
Okay. So this particular one is separate. I guess we got one for 100,000.
So this would be the one. So what he's saying, would be our parks impact fee, but if we get this grant, then we would only have to pay 17,600.
What's the one you said we got for 100?
That's that one down there, the general plan update and
yeah. If you want me to talk about that one as well.
the infrastructure.
So Taylor, it says like you've got it worked on and ready to submit. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's something we can submit by next week.
Okay. I guess my only question, are there any strings attached to it as far as requirements that they want us to do or
Yeah, so it's not federal, it's state. They're teaming up with the Division of Natural Resources, and I don't see any strings attached. The funding opportunity, they would fund like, I don't know, some big projects. Like I know they did one that was like a rodeo grant, like they did rodeos, and those are the big projects. Well, the planning grants are just pretty straightforward. And I don't see any strings attached to that.
This is a copy of it. I should show you down. Sorry.
So those fees would go to you guys, is that correct, for doing it?
So yeah, a lot of that fee would come to JUB for doing that. But it also goes to the fee analysis, the economics that does the fee analysis. That one I think was about $20,000 that would go to him.
So the only thing we needed on that one in that front page is we need to have a letter of support from the city council, but we'll talk about this more too in our regular meeting, that if you're interested in having us apply for this, then Morgan could even just send this out to you and we could get, you to sign it. So there was just that. There was a letter of support that I need to write. Pretty well written there. Morgan would just have to put our letterhead on it. And if there was anything specific we wanted to say, but I've dealt with the Utah Outdoor Recreation grants. I've actually written them before, but there really aren't strings attached other than like our match. That's the 17,600, which would get us those impact fees for our park. I mean, we'd get back lots more than that.
I forgot what IFFP stands for.
Impact.
What did
We're
I
gonna slow here,
say
so-
again?
I forgot too, so.
What did IFFP stand for again, Taylor?
That's the impact fee facilities plan.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's three parts to the updating impact fee. That'd be like the master plan or the capital facilities plan. That's kind of comes up with your cost of like this project. We want to complete this project. Here's what it costs. We want to complete this project. Here what it's cost. Then the impact fee facilities plan kind of breaks those down, saying like, yeah, this if it was, say it was a water line, this water line's an 8-inch, but because of the new growth, it needs to be upsized to a 12. So the impact that the new development is causing was only upsized from an 8 to a 12. Like, so it kind of breaks it down based off of what the growth impact actually is. And then the third part's the fee analysis, which is what some economist, finance person breaks down, saying this is how much the fee should cost. So those three parts are what are needed to do that.
I know Cammy had mentioned at our budget meeting that they really do require us to have, we can't charge something if we haven't done the impact fee study. So we can't just say, oh, we haven't had a park analysis since 2003. We think it should be this. No, legally, we can't do that. They require you to do this study that actually will show what the impact is. And she said they came down really, well, I told us that meeting already, but they came down pretty strict on that we have to do these studies.
And here's another thing too. Using your existing impact fees that you've collected can pay for an update to your plan and your IFFP and your IFA. So I did message, we worked with Cammy to figure out how much money is in that budget. Let's see. You guys have $32,000 in your budget for impact fees in your parks. So you could pay for your local match using that pot of money that you have there. And that includes all these different plans here. So, I mean, and I got more specifics about these sewers and these storm drains and transportation, the general plan. There's quite a bit of information. I don't know when's the best time to do that, if that's now or another time.
Yeah, you know what? We'll probably have to end our work meeting now, unless you have any questions for Taylor right now. And then, because they have to close this one out and start another Zoom. Do you have any specific questions for Taylor right now? And then we can have him present it more at our meeting, because there's more, because we have this whole traffic master plan too, or transportation going to go through.
I'm sure we'll have.
I think so too. Brian said that he had, and we'll talk about this too, but he's messaged you about, we wanted to submit a name for appointment to planning commission. And do you have that one swearing in? And then we also have the thoughts about possibly doing an alternate, because so far we've had a kind of a difficult time getting, well, one meeting we didn't have a quorum and we've been short. So did he mention that at all?
He did, man.
So that's something we can talk about too. So, okay. Thank you, Taylor. We're gonna, does he have to get off this and then we get something else stuff on?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Taylor, we have another link.
Okay.